Hello, 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 hello. I have gummy worms, chat. That's right, chat. I have gummy worms. They're so very, 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 very tasty. Ow. Fine, I'll share a few, okay? Hello, Full Metal Brook. All right, let's see who all checked in. Let's see who's all here, okay? Oh, 6 minutes ago, we got a new follow. Hello, Chicken Waffles. Thank you for the follow. Thank you, Honeydew, for getting first. Addie for getting stream check-in. And getting second. Honeydew, thank you for then checking in. Chicken Waffles, thank you so much for the follow. Gibbets, thank you for getting third. Aiko, thank you for checking in. Carmia, Gibbets, Vanya, thank you for checking in. River, Nap Time, Pink, hi Pink, Full Metal Brunk, Sakona, right? Sakona, thank you for checking in. Echo, thank you for checking in. And of course, Black Silver, thank you for checking in. Hello, 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 hello. Y'all, I am so tired. I did not get the sleep I promised I would get, but I tried, and that's why there was no this morning stream. I'm sorry. I will try harder to get more sleep, but, you know, hi, Moxie. Lovely to see you. Now. I love these gummy worms. I'm sorry for eating gummy worms. I'm gonna be honest. It took me like wait, let me get closer. You know what? Let me just pull you closer. You'll come closer, right? Here. Come here. Where is it? Okay. Ooh. Oh, too close. Hey. Personal space, okay? Little personal space. That's all I asked for. Well, yeah, no, there was monsters nearby. That is a very valid, as long as I don't bite. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know who bit. Someone bit somebody. You got bit. That's crazy. Who bit you? Who would bite you? That's wild. I didn't. Don't. It's nothing. It's nothing. I totally didn't bite anybody. I would never bite anybody. That's insane. Who would ever bite somebody? That's awful. I mean, that's just the worst. You can't be biting people, chat. You just can't be biting people. Why would you ever? Okay. There we go. So I bit you a little bit, but look. You stuck your fingers through the bar, so you can't blame me for this. And now you can't go anywhere, so that's fine. Yeah. And I'd do it again. I would absolutely do it again. If you put your fingers through the bar into my enclosure, I mean, look, what do you expect to happen? Me not to bite? No, I can't not do you. I'm sorry, those are on the couch right now, actually. I'm also eating a little ham. How? Yes, I'm eating gummy worms and ham. Judge me, fight me. I don't care. You're stuck in a cage and there's nothing you can do about it. But really, isn't the cage only in our mind? Does your brain do the revenge sleep thing where your brain makes you stay up when you want to sleep? Oh, it does. It 100% does. But that's not what happened this time. This time, I just had so much stuff going on that I was just like, hey, Gene, guess what? You're going to go to bed early, right? No, you're not. But it does do the thing where, like, I want to oversleep. Actually, let me pull you out of the...
I don't think I'm going to make it.
Wrong scene. Ah! Don't worry about that. It's fine. We're fine. Everything's okay. It's fine. Back over here. Okay. So... What did happen though was, you ever wake up in the morning and like you're like, I need to sleep. I want to sleep more. I took more time to sleep, but you can't because you always wake up at that time. That's what happened to me this morning. I woke up at like 5, and instead of, you know, getting more sleep, I just laid in bed being like, I took stream off. I should sleep. Gene, you have the time to sleep. Please sleep. No. So it happens. Did I get anything done with that time? No. Of course not. Because why would I do that? Hopefully tonight, though. I'll try to go to sleep early. Maybe record a TikTok right after this, and then we'll get going, and everything will be fine. Ow. Oh, you were in the cage for my safety. Sleeping is difficult. Here's the thing, like, okay, hear me out. Now, I'm not going to brag, but I'm about to brag. Do you want to know how long it takes me to sleep? Chat, guess. Guess how long it takes me to sleep right now. Take a guess. Take a guess right now. How? It takes me an average of 10 minutes to fall asleep usually 7. I can always fall asleep. I'm amazing at falling asleep. I'm so good at sleeping. It has made every ex of mine jealous. Because they're like, what do you mean that you can fall asleep in any condition? I fall asleep on moving vehicles. I have fallen asleep standing up. I've been accused of being a horse because I fall asleep standing up. I've been in a bus, and I woke up at the end of the bus going, because it stopped. And I almost fell over. So yes. Oh God, these gummy worms are so good. I don't think I've had any like real candy for like a month. I've had no candy for a month. And holy shit, candy. I'm not supposed to swear. Oh, fuck. Sorry, what was the punishment again? Barking, right. And I need to be cute, right? Arf, arf. Does that work? Arf, arf. There you go. There you go. You happy? You happy? You make me drink. I'm kidding. Imagine if I blamed you all for alcoholism. I'm not an alcoholic, but imagine if I did. What was I doing? We were talking about something, but then I swore. Oh, yeah, no, I've fallen asleep just like standing up on a bus. Because, you just do. My brain goes, and then I go, bloop. And I think we actually have a scene for that. Wait, 1 second. I have an emote for this. 1 sec. Stream Deck, where are you? I need to sign it real quick. Give me a second. We're going to do it here. You ready? Are you ready for this? Here we go. This is how long it takes me to sleep. Oh, candy. Oh, yeah, candy. So I haven't had like real candy in for so long, and like having actual sugary sweet candy is amazing. It's phenomenal, and I feel like I'm gonna eat way too much of this. I bought a $10 bag of gummy worms. How heavy do you think this thing is? Take a wild guess. How heavy do you think this thing is? For $10. Oh, Jibbits, you're almost there. It is 1.8 pounds. It is 1.8 pounds for $10 of gummy worms. I mean, that's a good deal. Well, where else are you gonna get 10 pounds of gummy worms for? I'm sorry, we're just gonna. Oh. I like that one. Thank you for the check-in, Spades. But yes, 1.8 pounds. It is so good. It's the trolley ones, like the little neon ones that are super sour. They're not really sour, but they're delicious, and they will rot through your teeth. Chat, I need health insurance. Who wants to buy me health insurance? You know what else I can do? I forgot I told you I can do this. Wait, have I shown you this before? You ready? Oh, no, I didn't want to do that. Come back. Why did I move? That's not what I thought it was. Help. I'm stuck. Can somebody grab my arm and pull me back, please? Please pull me back. Wait. No, I'm almost, okay. Closer. Come on. All right, one more time. Ready? Set. There we go. Okay. Lauren! Hello. Chat, there's been many amazing art that's been made by Lauren. Also, Pink is here as well. So I just want to point out like two of the... Aiko is here. God damn it. Okay. Aiko has done amazing art for me. Vanya has done amazing art for me. Pink has done amazing art for me. Lauren has done amazing art for me. Lauren. Make sure you pronounce the name properly. Check them all out. Go check them out. You want art made? They do amazing work. from emotes to like little animated things. I mean, you see that little guy down there? Oh, little guy. You see this little guy? No, it's a big guy. Vonnie made that. Vonnie animated that. Ain't that adorable? I should maybe I'll make a private server just for my artists. That way they can all hang out with each other. And then they all draw me pregnant. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Not allowed. No. No, I forgot there's already an emote. Mwah. You be good, Lorene. We have that. There's Mpreg art right there. Dead. I died. Hello. Sorry, my English is very bad. As long as you try, that's all that matters. Be good. Behave yourself. And hi, nice to meet you, Maiko. More gummy worms. Okay, I'm gonna get one more fistful of gummy worms, and then we're done with the gummy worms, okay? No more gummy worms after this. Okay, we have... Oh, wait. We're gonna do 2. No way. I grabbed 3 of each color except 1. Poland? Oh, sick! 1 second. I need 1 more. Ha. No, where is it? Gummy worm, come here. Yes! All right, I have 9 gummy worms. Little tiny ones. They're fine. They're less than the size of my finger. I have big finger. But you know. So. Oh. Very tasty. Got distracted. What were we doing, chat? But them on the other side of the room? You can't make me. I have big, meaty fingers. Every one of my fingers could be used as their own weapon. I can bludgeon a small child with these things. They have seen the end of many a man, and the start of many a dog. Yeah. You lucky, Gene? I am very lucky. I craft. Oh. Are you making fun of my eating sounds? A. Shut up. Okay. Today we have choices. Womp. We have. Don't call me a living soundboard. We can play the weird game from yesterday. We have other horror games we can play. We can play The Derailed, or we can play Minecraft. And I'm not saying I'm biased or anything. Oh. Thank you for the follow. Hello, how lovely. Let's see if you win. Nope, no winners this time. Nice try, though. What do I want to play? I want to play Super Mario Sunshine, but I don't have the game. What's yesterday's game? It was called Kura? No. Korra. No. Karma. Karma the Dark World. Someday I'll win. Someday you will win. Karma the Dark World. God, these are so... Wait. Okay. First, though, gummy worm taste test, okay? Okay? We have 2 each of the flavors of the gummy worms. We have cherry lemon, strawberry grape, why is it blue, and orange lime. So we're going to taste each one of these, and I'm going to tell you if they're any good, okay? First one, strawberry grape. Why are you red and blue? Okay, how? I'm tasting very little flavor besides gummy worm and sour. We're going to try the next one, okay? How? Okay. Has a little cherry lemon flavor. Still mostly just tastes like a sour gummy worm. And lastly, we have orange lime. Ow. Yeah, no, they just taste like gummy worms. Mm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Mm. To be fair, chat, which one is your favorite flavor of gummy worm? Do you pick out flavors of gummy worm, or do you just eat them like they're gummy worms? Oh, no, 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 you're not in a cage. You're not in a cage. You are now, but you weren't in a cage. And now I can eat gummy worms in front of you. Oh. Oh. Mm. 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 Nom, 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 nom. Chat, do you want, sorry, no. I have 2 more left. I have 2 more left. I won't eat any more after this, but we have to finish them. Because if... Vanya, I've seen that video. I almost choked in the gummy worm. It's fine. Oh. Okay. So, Minecraft, we're going to put a vote on it. Poll. Karma. Or Mine World. Craft of the Mines. Dark World. All right. Good luck figuring out which one is which. Vote. I believe in you. Ow. All right. Anyways, I'll let you out though. For now. For now, you all. Oh. Chat, the door's broken. I'm sorry to tell you this, but I can't open the... Wait. Oh, no, but closed again. Okay, wait. Open? There we go. Fixed it. Oh, I don't think it's almost done. I have no clue, legitimately. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I can't imagine... I don't know how long the game is. Let me look it up. No, it's probably got at least another 4 hours. And y'all voted for Craft of the Mines! Okay, we're playing Minecraft. It's Minecraft time, chat. You nerds. We'll do more horror tomorrow. I feed Vanya, I will give you cookies, and I will give you gummy worms, and I will give you real food, too. I have, like, full-on meals that I haven't made yet that I can make. And if anybody wants to come hang out, I'll cook for you. Why am I getting a call from Scam Likely? Hello, Scam Likely. How are you doing today? Oh, they hung up. Surprising. Can you believe that? Yeah, no, I'll cook for everybody. I've not had a chance to cook for anybody in a while, and I kind of miss it. Not to be like sappy or anything, but I genuinely miss cooking for people. It's been like almost a year. Wow, it's been almost 10 months. Huh. But we're okay. No breaking in. You can knock. I don't have a table. Chad, I don't have a table. I will give you all plates you can sit on the couch with. But yeah, we can sit on the floor. You can sit on the floor as well. I have a single kind of sort of table that is like a folding thing that you use outside. Hi, kitten. How you doing, Wild Kitten? Bet. I have actually legitimately probably have enough, like, oh, I have chicken. I have plenty of spices. I have plenty of veg. I could make a meal probably for, how many people are here? Chat, if you're here, tell me you're here. And also how many people are here. I don't look at the number. Oof, headache. 28 people. Damn. Okay. Wait. I have, God, how many chicken breasts do I have? I think I have like eat chicken breast right now. I have like 2 pounds of ground beef. I have. Is anybody vegan or vegetarian? $31. Oh shoot, it's going up. We're gonna have to put a cutoff at a certain point. Anybody vegan, vegetarian? I can make vegan stuff. It's just gonna be take me a little bit longer. I have plenty of beans. I have lots of veg. I have soul salads already pre-made that I can do. I have. Yeah, no, I could probably feed all of us. I've got a lot of rice too. I can make a full-on like meal. I could make a gumbo. I have everything I need for gumbo. Yeah, no, I've got you all. I've got you all. I have a no restricted allergy, and if you have any allergies, let me know first. I will make yours separately. Okay? Okay. Oh. But yes, what were we doing? We're doing Minecraft, right? Never had gumbo? I mean, honestly, having a white guy like me make it as your first gumbo is probably not the best way to have it. Because I'm gonna be honest, like I'm a great cook, but like, I do not make gumbo as well as you're gonna get down in New Orleans. I'm most definitely not. But yeah, start low. I'm a good entry point. I'm like a middle tier gumbo maker. And I have the nice cooker for it. I mean, I might have to make like multiple. I have a giant pot. I could actually do this. This is stupid. I'm halfway tempted that because I'm probably going to be alone on Thanksgiving. Oh, is that so sad, Gene? I can't believe you're going to be alone on Thanksgiving. Everybody should give Gene money so he's not too alone. Anyways, since I'm going to be alone on Thanksgiving, I'm thinking I might just do like a big Thanksgiving feast for myself. And give me a second to connect my AirPods Pro 3 to my iPhone 17 Pro Max, or should I use my Mercedes? Are you open-minded? Let me just get your number in my iPhone Pro Max. God, have y'all seen The Hongdae Guy? Have y'all seen The Hongdae Guy? Oh yeah, sorry. Gonna be alone on Thanksgiving, so I think I might just do like a whole Thanksgiving feast, but then just like take pictures of it. And then I'll have like food for like a month. It's gonna be great. Oh. And I'll stream it. I'll stream Thanksgiving meal, and y'all can hang out with me for Thanksgiving. Unless you have family and you know. Oh, Black Silver, you sleep well, okay? I love the Hongdae Guy so much. I love him so much. Oh yeah, no, Thanksgiving used to be a big holiday for me, but that's because, you know, food is really like a big thing for me. Like, my family was always very much on the, oh, you had a bad day? Let's eat something. Oh, you had a good day? Oh, we gotta celebrate. Let's go eat something. Oh, you're really bored? You know what? We have this thing in the kitchen. You want to go make something? Oh, can you go make me tea and cookies? Because, like, I just want tea and cookies now. And, like, everything was punctuated with food. And so to me, like, growing up, for me, growing up was, like, very, very focused on, like food. And it's, like, it's a mixture. I mean, like the thing is, though, my family's also very much on, like, the you better keep eating or else you're, like you need to eat everything and you need to try everything, which is why I have no food phobias. I do hate one food thing. I'll tell you about that in a second, though. But it also gave me kind of an unhealthy relationship with food because then I do everything with food, and it's, you know, not the best way to handle everything. College was a dark time. But no, no, the one food item that I actually like, I cannot stand. I can eat a Big Mac. I think Big Mac is horrible, and it's awful, and you shouldn't eat it. But the Big Mac is still food. Marzipan. Marzipan. I hate marzipan. I hate marzipan. And the thing is, Shiny, I can make you mushrooms that don't have that texture. That change the texture of mushrooms based on the way you cook it. I cannot stand marzipan. Marzipan? Do you not know what marzipan is? Oh my god. Maybe it's more of a European thing. Okay. Marzipan. 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 I'm going to hold my breath until Vanya says that I'm okay. I can't. I couldn't. I didn't pull in enough air. I didn't start with enough air. It went south very quickly. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to die now, Vanya. I'm sorry. Okay, so yes, Vanya, I would have died without you, but I almost died with you here too, unfortunately. Okay, no, Pan, marzipan. It's marzipan. Anyways, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't know what it is about it. It's the flavor. Shit, I'm on my head. Yeah, marzipan. Hello, last banana. I don't like the flavor. I don't know. It's so sweet, and it's so like such a funky flavor. I hate it. Like I tried. Like I should like it, right? Like here's the thing. There's a lot of things we don't like because they're new tastes, right? And the thing is, like, if you have anything, like you can convince yourself to like something. For instance, you know, black licorice. Most people don't like black licorice, but it's because it's such a unique taste. You can eat it and condition yourself to it, and eventually you will like it by continuously eating it. I tried that with marzipan, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. It's a traditional German thing, so like it's everywhere when I went around in Germany. But I just couldn't enjoy it no matter what I did. I wanted to. Like it's sugar. It's sugar. I like sugar. It's almonds. I love almonds. It's chocolate. I love chocolate. Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. And still to this day I try. Every time I go back to Germany, I have another piece, hoping I'll like it, hoping I can get over it. It won't work. I'm so sad. I wish I could. I wish I could. I wish I could, but it doesn't work. It does not work. All right. Do you have any foods like that, though? Are there any foods that you, like, want to like, and you think you should like them, but you just don't like them? Anyone have a marzipan like that? Marzipan aversion? Because, like, there's just so much stuff out there. Means you can't... I can't. Mochi? You don't like mochi? Oh, beans? What kind of beans, though? Battenberg cake. Yeah, no, you're right. I can't. I've tried those. I don't like them. Celery. Yeah, and it's honestly a thing of like, food is going to be something that you're kind of conditioned for, and if you don't have a lot of food when you're younger, it is going to be an aversion as you get older. I mean, it's almost a safety thing. Strawberries is crazy to me, but valid. I mean, like, not everybody likes anything. And I will tell you this. If there's a food that you want to like, you can eventually force yourself to like it. It's hard, especially if it's a texture thing. My way of getting around the texture thing was getting really drunk, though, before trying foods. Maybe don't want dog stew, Vanya. Maybe don't. Oh, well, that's also a thing. I mean, like, if you get overforced something, you can have the same reaction, I think. Get in the pot. I don't want to get in the pot. You smell celery? Oh, you know, gaslight yourself. But, like, the thing is, it's fine. How dare you be late, Vividly? How dare you? No, you know what? You know what? Chat. Can everybody come a little bit closer to me? Stand next to me. Vividly, I'm just going to need you to stand right there. Don't move. Don't move. Actually, can you just back off a little bit? Like, just a little bit. Come on. Like right there? No, a little bit further. A little bit further. But come on. Where? There we are. Don't worry about what I'm about to Yeah, you're staying in the cage. You're staying in the cage, Ridley. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You were late. And you know the rule. Don't be late. You're just going to have to live here now. Okay, though. All right, scoot over. Scoot over. Keely, get in. Actually, anybody who was late, get in. Just let me know when you're in, okay? Come on. I'm waiting. We ain't gonna play Minecraft until everybody gets in the cage. You can get in if you really want to get in the cage, okay? Pickles are a unique one for me. Alright. There we go. That'll do. So, pickles, I don't know what it is. I used to hate pickles, but then I had to do the perfect pickles. And then the pickles, doesn't feel like a real word. I'm sorry. Give me Can somebody say pickles for me real quick? Wait, no, I just said it. That was easy. Pickles. Pickles. Oh, God. You know what? My brain's just all over the place. I just need applesauce makes me puke, but I love applesauce. So, for those of you Americans out there who know what Chick-fil-A is, do you know how Chick-fil-A does their chicken? They soak it in pickled brine. They put it in pickle juice. Chicken from Chick-fil-A is soaked in pickle juice. It's very tasty. It works very well because it's a nice brine, a vinegary brine. All right, so we're gonna come into the surprise ASMR hour here. We're just gonna. I mean, it's vinegar and spices, right? Welcome to the new Minecraft ASMR. We're just gonna be All right, you've been in the cage long enough for now. For now, I'll come let you out. Okay? What the? Okay, wait. Chat. The door's stuck. Chat. The door's stuck. Chat. The door's stuck. Help. I can't. No clicker today. I put the clicker away, chat. We'll do the clicker another day. But the door's stuck. The door. Okay, we're just gonna. Anybody who's currently out of the cage, anybody who's not in the cage, we're just gonna. Come follow me. We're just gonna. It's fine. I'm gonna go get help. It's gonna be. You know what? I hear Cottontail. Cottontail knows how to handle these situations better. I mean, that's who I'm trying to imitate here. But I wonder if she knows what to do in this. We're just gonna. Okay, we're gonna. So I'll be back. Are they still stuck? Okay, that's fine. Anyways, guys, we're gonna play some Minecraft today. Don't worry about the people who are stuck in another room. They're fine, I promise. Probably. Don't worry about it. There's nothing to burn in there, it's fine. What are they gonna do, burn themselves? Hey, hey, the door opened! You guys aren't burning yourselves in here, are you? Are we? Why does it smell like smoke in here? Hey. Why does it smell like smoke in here? You can't burn metal Oh my. You burn Gibbets. You burn Gibbets. Gibbets, are you okay? Gibbets, are you fine? Are you okay? I saw the sign. I opened up my eyes. I saw the sign. Anyway, sorry. Are you okay, Gibbet? Gibbets hasn't talked. Gibbets hasn't talked for a little. I'm such a good doggy. Gibbets? Gibbets? Does anybody know CPR? Does anybody know if CPR works on a pile of ash? How do you bring back... Alexa, how do you bring back somebody from a pile of ash?
From Quora.com. There's nothing you can do to bring it back.
There's nothing you can do. Oh. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take Gibbets. We're going to take Gibbets and we're going to slowly, you know, put them into a pile, like a little bag. We're going to get a mini Gibbet-sized mold. We're going to put the ash in there, maybe a little clay, pour some water in there, and then shape it to the mini Gibbet size. Now, if all goes to plan, the soul of Gibbets can enter the mini Gibbets. And Gibbets is just going to be really small from now on. But it'll be okay. Okay? So give me a second. I'm going to try this. I'll be right back. Okay? That's fine. It's fine. You know what? Just listen to the voice demo while I go try to save Gibbets. Okay? We're just gonna give me a second while I do this. It's just a second. Be right back.
I don't think I'm gonna make it. My legs hurt. Even my brain hurts.
Reversing the polarity will cause a cataclysmic reaction of... turn the dials right. Make device go boom!
I thought I'd left you dead in the desert. I mean, haunted by ghosts, ain't I? I guess I deserve it.
Good evening, fellow Mad Cats. DJ Fang is ready to spin more records. Coming up next, 12 commercials back to back. My favorite.
You made it! I didn't think you'd come. No one else has. Still, you seriously made my day. We are not taking any more party members. Wait, are you wearing a dead possum as a scarf?
Nah, she ain't dead. She's just scared. The poor sweetie pie.
Okay, so, not the full voice demo. Didn't need the full one. I did get Gibbets into a Gibbet-shaped mold. It's okay. It's fine. And so I'm going to leave the Gibbets over in the chat. And if the soul of Gibbets repossesses mini Gibbets, then they can come back. If not, then, I was never here. Okay? If we all stick to the same story, they can't arrest all of us. All right. Gibbets, I believe in you. Good luck in repossessing your mini body. It's going to be incredible. Why do I have a Gibbets? Why do I have a Gibbets? why do I have a Gibbet small? Oh, anyway, so, that's the wrong scene. We're going into the game modes. We're going to play some games. Minecraft. Woo, Minecraft. Chat, if you like Minecraft, raise your hand. Everybody, raise your hand for Minecraft. Nobody's raising the... Do you want to maybe raise... Anybody want to play Minecraft? Yeah, I want to save Jib. We tried. It's fine. Do. Minecraft. Good. Minecraft time. Hey, Gibbets is back! Gibbets! Woo! So proud of you, Gibbets. Welcome back to life. It's also occurred to me that we were once again streaming in no category at all. If anybody found us somehow, that's insane. We did it again, chat. We did it again. We got a new follow out of it, so you know. All hail the raised and mighty Gibbets. We're going to name this world in honor Oh, it did? Okay. Mini Jibs. And this is just going to be called Gibbet. But both one B. Gibbet. Oh, on my side it said there was no category, but I might have also removed the category earlier. So this might be on me. Chat, am I big enough? Oh, Alexa, set a 15-minute timer.
15 minutes, starting now.
Amazing. Now that we're not doing like soft cheesy mode, we can do this fine. No, but chat, am I big enough? I mean, like, look. So I went to hey, don't be looking at me like that. I went to Cottontail's stream, and Cottontail's like this big on their stream. Like, is this better? Does this make the game better? Do y'all enjoy this more? Oh, are you still running the timer? Addy, are you still running the timer? Too big? Too big? No, is this better? Low-key better, or am I low-key too big? Why do I smell burnt toast? Okay. This good? I had it going. Oh, please, do you still have the timer going? If you still have the timer going, I will turn off the robot. I do not want jobs stolen by robots. Alexa, stop timer.
15-minute timer canceled.
Have you ever seen this segment with, so I wanted to test this, that's why I'm only mentioning this. Have you ever seen the bit that Markiplier does when he did Unos Anus? By the way, I never saw Unos Anus, and you can still see it online, but I refuse to see it. I know they're going to be doing a new one, but I refuse to see the original one because that was the point of it. And I regret not seeing it because it sounds so cool. Here we go. We're going back to this. Here we go again. Girls, what's my weakness? Men. All right, then. All right, so everybody, we're just gonna, Alexa, please order 35,000 sandwiches. But yes, there's Unos Anus 2 coming out. There's an Unos Anus 2 coming out. Yeah, I get so jealous and I want to see it. Maybe we'll do like some group watches. Does anybody want to watch it with me? It's perfect. We'll do maybe like some group hangouts where we will all watch it together. But there was a bit in one of them where he goes, "Hey Siri, call me Daddy," and he goes, "I can't find any Daddy in your contact list." And Mark goes, "Well, about that." It's just so. It was, for those of you who don't know, Markiplier's father is no longer with us. Oh, do you want to know something very sad? In one of the Doom games, shit. There was an homage paid to Markiplier's father, and it was in the game. It goes, Mark, or whatever his dad's name was, and it says on how to have a beautiful mustache. And for those of you who don't know, Markiplier's father had a very nice mustache, and so it was like very, very sweet. And why does it get to me? It's not my father. I had a reaction to that. That's not good. Ethan nearly died. He did. But yes, I love that man. There was that one moment where Mark like had the supportive AI thing that he was doing, and I was like, there better be a good reason for this. And he did. He came out and everything was okay. Is this going to be controversial, chat? No, I'm kidding. We're not going to talk controversial. It's fine. But yes, how much time do I have left, Ati, please? Per favore. Okay, wait. If there is one of these here, then there should be a town nearby, yeah? Can I hypothetically dig in 10 minutes and 30 seconds? We have wasted so much time. Just, I wish I could do something like that. I wish I had that, you know, that friendship with somebody. I know more about those tools than I possibly do. I wish I could roll my R's. What, do you want to roll your R's? All right, so first thing what you're going to do is you're going to take your tongue and you're going to, okay? Can you do that? Step 1, okay? Step 2, okay. 1, tongue, 2, put it together. This feels a little mean. I'm sorry. Is this going a little... Is this mean? I know, right? I'm sorry. I'm a little sorry. Okay, wait, how? Why are you sad, Vanya? Can you also not roll your R's? Oh, I'm sorry, sweetie. That's the same. So I have a friend who can't whistle, and I know many people can't whistle. It's okay. You're allowed not to be able to whistle. I would never judge you for it. But I have some friends who can't whistle, and I'm just like, I wish I could teach you. Because to me, it just makes sense. You know? It's not difficult. And you can go in, and you can go out. But, like, you know. And some people are very good at whistling. I think it's a thing of just understanding where the lips need to go for the noise, you know? I can raise one eyebrow. I can't raise both eyebrows. I mean, I can raise both eyebrows, you know, together. And I can raise one eyebrow. But I cannot do the other eyebrow. It's like the other eyebrow is off limits. The other eyebrow is just like, no. No, we do not move. We are the serious eyebrow. Eyebrow number 1, this one. This one is for all your smoldering and cocky needs, but the other one, no, the other one, we do not move. We are the serious eyebrow. We are all of your German heritage put into one eyebrow, okay? Okay. Being an eyebrow is a very serious matter. Oh, I smolder. I'm a good smolderer. I can smolder very nicely. I can smolder Mr. Best of them. Yes, my smoldering needs. No, but I'm just like, ooh, hello, look at me. Look at you in the mirror. Who's that man? Oh, he's looking good today. We should tell him he looks good. Oh, that's me? I can't believe it. Oh yeah, I can full on. I could Flynn Rider. Yeah, 100%. Easy peasy. Making out with Zamia for 5 minutes. Oh, I got the seats. Okay, how much time do I have left, Adi? The only problem is I can't... 7 minutes and 20 seconds. That is so much time. We have so much time. Look, I got the bamboo. I got some wood. I got the seeds. All I need now is a pumpkin. And then we come back here and get the chickens. And we were all good. Fine. Oh, okay, so chat. And Aiko. Chat and Aiko. You know, the two separate entities we have here. We have all of chat and we have Aiko. No. I specify Aiko specifically because Aiko did a drawing for my next module iteration. I have talked to an artist who have done some like amazing rigging work. I might go 2D at first. I don't know if they're going to have to do it in their style or what. But when we do this 3D, it will be definitely like 100% on point with the style. The first one may be, you know, slightly altered just due to the situation, but they're decently cheap. They do very good work. I have seen some of it. It is incredible, the work they do. I mean, like, goddamn, is Damos favored? Okay, they're very... I feel my soul leave me every time I do that. My soul leaves a little bit on each time. No, I did this thing. I didn't... But anyways, they do such amazing work. And we were talking and they're like, hey, I don't actually take on any clients, but you mentioned that you want this specific rigger. And like these riggers, why am I still doing the accent? I can stop now. And this rigger is like really, really cool. Like they do like amazingly animated work. And so like if you were to do that, because they only work off of reference, then they would be like willing to, you know, work with me. And I'm like, yes. And like the rigger at most is going to be maybe 1,500 to 2,000. The artist is starting at 800. But like I'm imagining I'm probably going to double that, which is crazy because that's like still cheaper than what I was originally looking at, meaning it's most definitely in more of the budget now. Oh, Jibs, you're right. My Jibby boy. Jibbalicious. Jibby man. Jibster. Ah! Sorry. I got jump scared by a villager. Oh, hey. That's a thing that happens. You can keep going. You want me to come with more nicknames for you? Jimmy Man Chipster was not enough. You need more? Jibadiah. Jibbalicious. Jibasi. The Honorable Colonel Jibbles. The Honorable Colonel. Is that another? That's another one, isn't it? That is insane. There's no way that's another one. And Jibbles the Clown. Jibby! uh... 4 minutes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate it. You know what else ate me? Because I'm so... eatable? Edible? I'm not edible. Don't eat me. Taking this for ASMR purposes. Why is that horse dark? Mm-hmm. Okay. We need one more thing. Give me a heads up when I have like 1 minute left. I haven't been able to find any pumpkin, but is that pumpkin? Okay. Oh shoot, oh shoot. No, 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 no. Go faster. Go faster. Stop existing. Oh shoot. What can I get rid of? I don't need leaves. I don't know what lodestone is, but it looks cool. No flowers. Curse of vanishing. That's so weird. I wonder what that does. Flint and steel, flint and steel. Gold. We don't need gold. That's fine. No! 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 I was doing so good! No! No! Ironic that this is the world we named after gibbets. All right, new world. What are we naming the world? I need a name, and I need a seed. Okay, died by fire, and what's the world? Arson. Arson's perfect. Okay. Oh my God! Look at this. By the way, chat, we're gonna do a little. We should do a dance party soon. I like the dance party we did the other day. That was a lot of fun. Do y'all remember the dance party? Why am I vibrating? Okay. You missed a dance party? No one do another dance party? How about this? After the 15 minutes, once the 15 minutes are up, we will do a dance party together, okay? How's that feel? Dance party. Yeah. All right. Anybody have any song preferences? BB No Money? We can always know BB No Money. BB No Money is royalty free. BB No BB. Party Rock Anthem? Valid. Valid. Honestly, very valid. Party Rock is in the house tonight. Everybody just have a good time. We gonna make you lose your mind. Everybody just shake that. Redeem shuffling. Okay, 1 second. Sorry. This needs to be done. Y'all can still hear the music, right? No, keep going. We're not dancing. We're just gonna listen to this. Y'all can dance if you want to. You can leave your friends behind, but if your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, well, they're no friends of mine. We can go where they want to. The night is young, and so am I. We can dress real neat, from our hats to our feet. Anyways, don't worry about it. You love whatever's wrong with me. So does my therapist. I've been keeping them in. I've been keeping them in business. Chad, if you don't go see a therapist, why? Oh, it's slowly happening. There's a whole intro sequence. Where are the people at? Monday shuffle, Tuesday shuffle. All right, Chad, it's almost happening. You ready? I ain't got time for a demo. All right. Should I just, is this where I just live? Wait, how much time do I have left? And we gonna make you lose your mind. Everybody just have a good time. Rock is in the house tonight. Everybody just have a good time. And we gonna make you... Hey, what's up? Mine. Everybody be you. Shake that. I do have ears. I have human ears. Wait, watch this. You ready? They move. Oh, no. No letting our Zeppelin. Party Rock is in our house tonight. Everybody just have a good time. And we gonna make you lose your mind. Everybody just have a good time. God, y'all are amazing, you know that? Shake that. Every day I'm shuffling. Shuffling. Some of these emotes are incredible. I'm not gonna tell you which ones they're gonna have to guess. And be the first one to make me lose his cash. Hating's bad. Get down, and get your back and in the sun. Oh, the cheerleader puppy is so cool. Oh, his cheerleader puppy is so cool. Is that a twerking turtle? There's so many grandma. Rock is in the house tonight. Everybody just have a good time. And we gon' make you lose your mind. Everybody just have a good time. I've had so little supplies this round. Shuffling. Did you know they were uncle and nephew and they had a big falling out? It's crazy. It was a great song. Shame. I'm just still amazed y'all have so many emotes. It's so cool. Oh, I'm jealous. All right, there we go. How much time do I have left, Daddy? Do I have any time left? There's no way I have 7 minutes, really? Yeah. No, they fell out because one of them like got really, really sick, and like the uncle refused to see his nephew in the hospital and went on tour instead. It was just like, oh yeah, no, he's fine with it. Yeah, which is kind of insane, you know? I guess I need to watch more streamers to get more emotes. All right, so we're gonna go back to playing the chill music, right? I mean, like, how would you do that? Up we go. Have y'all ever heard, oh shoot, what's his name? He did the song Party Hard. Andrew WK. Oh. Eddie, I know it's a lie. When it's time to party, we will always party hard. Yo, you fight that fight, and when you fight it, gonna be alright. I love this song. Please tell me y'all. Do y'all like rock? Chat, what kind of genres of music do we like? Give me some insight on the deep, in-depth analysis of your brain. What genres of music do you like? I'm sorry I wasn't streaming this morning for you. Got me. Rock? Okay, rock. Everybody like hard rock. And I mean like hard rock. Not like metal, I mean hard rock. Polyamorous. Oh, I love that. Were you the one who said that the other day? All right. In that case, we're listening to Party Hard. By the way, Andrew WK prefers Pinkie Pie. I thought you should know. All of his music is all about partying. It's the best. Here we go. You ready? I'll turn up the music. Hi, Sophie. How you doing? See, not heavy metal, just hard rock. Give your dog a bath. Why haven't I had a bath? Nobody ever bathes me. I don't want to be bathed, chat. I don't want to be bathed. I take that back. Someone's going to take me seriously. I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night. Somebody's going to be over me being like, I said you wanted a bath. So yeah, no. You mind the night. No, don't spray me. Let's see. He really likes that one piano note. Scrub my belly. Scrub my belly. Yay. Oh, yes, get a party going. Let's get a party going. I'm so lost. All right, apparently I'm just going to have to deal with being hungry all the time. We're living in the desert, chat. Party hard, party hard, party hard, party hard, party hard. There's a tiny part of water. Do you think I can hit it? Do you think I can hit that water? How much to hit that water? How much to hit that water? No! I was so close! I was 1 inch away! You know what time it is? You know what time it is? Are you ready? All right, chat. I hit the wrong button now. I want to do something. I have this. Where is it? 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 Where? No, I know. Okay. I should thank BBO Money. I should go to his DMs and be like, hey, yo, girl, hey, yo, girl, hey, yo, girl. Thank you. I might have been singing around. I might have been singing along. Shush. You don't know. You don't know me, chat. You don't know what I did. But we're gonna play this in the background while we do one more 15-minute thing. Are you ready? BB, no. Money. All right, here we go. You ready? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I should learn. You want to hear the widest thing I'm going to ever say in my entire life? Chat, I think I should learn how to rap. I'm doing it. I'm only am I gonna learn how to rap. I'm gonna learn how to freestyle, and I'm gonna figure out my rap voice, and then you're gonna have to sit with me freestyling. Do your best. Oh my god, this is very much like a yeah. Oh, you go for it, sweetie. Oh, look at you go. Go, white boy, go. Little Eminem. I'm gonna be Little M. Make a roll for that. Little Lucky. Little Gene. That's what I call. Wait, I have to listen to a song by Prof. Prof. This song. Y'all hear this one? You hear this one? Listen to this. LJ! I like that. I could manage a few of them. I owed like 11 of them. We're gonna get the mushies, don't you worry. I love you too. Mushrooms. Mushrooms, mushrooms, mushrooms. Oh, what was the song that I'm learning recently? So chat, 2 song covers are coming this month, by the way. One I'm going to have to wait on the editor to do, but one I'm going to try to learn how to edit, which is... Why am I help! Help! I'm vibrate! Help! Why am I... Oh. Okay, sorry. I was... Whew. Whew. All right, we're going to go down here. This one. Yep, Oogie Boogie. And also Phantom of the Opera. And so you turn to me. Should we see if I can do it? Yeah. Oh, by the way, I've put it off so aggressively because I am singing with a trained opera singer who's gonna be doing the girls part. And I'm just like, I'm not gonna do as good as you, and I hate that you asked me to do this because I'm not gonna be anywhere close to as good as you are. People are like, oh my god, I love your vocal range. You have such a great vocal range. I'm like, yes, but I have 0 skill or technique. I make it through brute force alone. I got you. This one. Don't yeah me. You know what you're talking about, Carmia. Don't yeah me. That one. Fake it till you make it. Got it. No, you turn to me. I have to hit higher than that. It's like, it's up here. The Phantom of the Opera is here. I'm stuck. Anyways, we're gonna pause. We've done enough dancing. There's no more dancing, chat. We're done with dancing. No, shoot, shoot. Survive, survive. Gene! Gene! No, I don't have the option because unfortunately I learned how to hit the note. I can't actually hit the note, which sucks. And it's difficult, but I can hit the note. I don't think it sounds good, but I can hit it. Never wanted to dance with nobody but you. Never wanted to dance with nobody but you. Wouldn't take no for an answer, you fucking... That's not gonna work. Oh, wait, I have an idea. I have an idea, and it might be a good one. We're going to find out if it was a good idea. I have an idea, and it might be a good one, and I don't know what I'm singing now, but, doop-boop-a-doop. Hey, chat, can you tell that I'm a little bit compensating for any of my negative feelings I had earlier today? And now I'm feeling a lot better by pretending to be happy, and I feel happy. It worked out. It was fantastic. I'm a genius is what I am, is all I'm trying to tell you. Baby. Baby, lock them doors and turn the lights down low. I'ma get on my feet and eat your toes. Am I doing okay? Yeah, for the most part. I forgot the thing that I really wanted. Please don't eat my toes. Sorry. Yummy toes. Toes. Yeah. Sometimes it happens. You don't need no toes. What are you gonna do with your toes, huh? What are you gonna do with your toes that you can't do without them? You'll allow it? Perfect. And before, so Gene announced the other day that he has a foot fetish. I do not have a foot fetish, chat. I'm a cannibal. There's differences. Oh. I think that's actually it. I'll also allow it there's a lot of people who immediately agreed to let me eat their toes. I am... Oh? I'm telling a trusted adult about your photo liking. Addie, am I a trusted adult? Vanya, did I die? Chad, did I die? No. What? Would never. I am followed by the foot fetish guy. God, it's so quiet. Give me a second. We're gonna listen to some fun foot. You name it. Chad, did you know that when I get a 3D model, y'all gonna have to see a white boy try to learn how to dance? Y'all gonna have to see a white boy who never danced anything except swing dancing learn how to dance. Oh yeah. Oh no, this is happening. I'm gonna do all the popular TikTok dances poorly. I'm so excited. Do you know why? No, do you know why I want to do it? Because it legitimately looks so much fun. It looks like so much fun, and I've always been too much of a coward to even attempt to dance. I've been too much of a coward to ever attempt to even dance at anything. I learned how to slow dance. I learned how to swing dance. Because swing dancing, A, my ex did it, and B, it has structure. You can figure it out. You figure out the structure, you ad-lib. But everything else, I've been like too much of a coward to do. No, I'm not starting until I get the model because I think it'd be funny. Plus, then we have the bit. I'm not going to stop dancing until I get something to blah 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 happen, and we get bits. It's gonna be funny. Plus, I'm a coward to do it in my own house, so oof. Was ist das für ein Ding? Was ist das für ein Ding? Was ist das für ein Ding? Hallo? Siehst du das? Do I Brit? Ask that in a nicer way, please. Can you do this? I will do that. If you ask it in a nicer way, I may answer. In a kinder way. Oh. Well, I gave you a chance, didn't I, buddy? Boop. Oh my god, he's gone! What happened? I gave him a fucking chance. Huh. Why is there a skeleton? Chat, help the skeleton. Chat, there's no dark. Why skeleton? Why skeleton? Help! Oh, I have some guy doing stupid. I've never seen this before. This is so cool. Hey, chat. Hey, new challenge? What if we make a new role? What if we make a new thing? What if we can't leave the Pale Forest? And we just only live in the Pale Forest, and anywhere that the Pale Tree ends, like here, we can't cross. I can either be underground or I can be in the Pale Forest. How does that sound? Carmia? How does that sound to you, Carmia? Or am I cheating? Oh. Oh. Never mind. I'm blaming Carmia. They took too long. Okay. Carmia's fault. Actually, JK, Gene is just stupid. Really? Oh, that's so cool. I like the noise of teeth. That sounds weird. I don't take it back. I like the noise of teeth. Teeth make cool noises. You can't, I'm not taking it back. Teeth make cool sounds. I'm not going to comment on that. Gummy, how'd you know I was the Tooth Fairy? How did you know that I was the Fairy of Teeth? How dare you expose my secrets like this? I will be visiting you tonight. And I'm taking all of your teeth. All of them. Anyways. Okay, I don't like that noise. I don't like grinding tooth noises. You have baby teeth in your mouth? Even the teeth I have in a jar? You have teeth in a jar? Hey, so, you know how, like, there's always, like, people who are, like, goth, and goth people always collect weird things? And then people are like... I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not saying anything. I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy. Hi, Flower. Teen Titan, go. Teen Titan. What's the song? Hey, chat, have you ever had a theme song? Have y'all ever had a theme song? Like, genuinely. Did I ever tell you guys that I hired a person to write me a theme song once? Yep. A long time ago. Teen Titan. That was good. I'm happy. Do you know about it? Wait, do I know about what? God Gene? Oh God Gene? Do I know about it? I'll send the song after samples. Okay. Yeah. I don't know about it. Oh, I might know about it. Hello, I've come to rob you. I'm gonna take your eye patch. Watch this. Your eye patch has gone crazy, isn't it? Isn't it? My friend said that my theme song is all I want to do. All I want to do is see you turn into a giant woman, a giant woman. All I want to be, someone who gets to see a giant woman. All I want to do is see you turn, all I want to do is help you turn into a giant woman, a giant woman. All I want to be is someone who gets to see a giant woman. Oh, I just can't wait. I need to look at the lyrics. Can somebody pull up the lyrics for me? They gotta clean up your looks with all the lies in the books to make a citizen. That's a different one. They're gonna clean up your looks with all the lies in the book. Cause they sleep with a gun and keep an eye on your son. They can watch all the things you do. Because the drugs never work, they gonna give you a smirk. Cause they got methods of keeping you clean. They gotta rip off your heads, your aspirations to shreds. Another cog in the murder machine. They say now teenagers scare the living shit out of me. They can care less as long as someone will bleed. So darken your clothes or strike a violent pose. Maybe they'll leave you alone, but not me. The boys and girls in the clique, they offer names at the stake. You're never gonna fit in much, kid. Anyways, we are doing drunken karaoke soon, though, because I still owe you that for getting my my demo reel up to 100 listens or 100 views or 100 likes. 100 likes is what we needed to hit, and y'all did that. So I will be doing a very poorly prepared, heavily drinking stream. I'm not good. There's no money involved. Like, you cannot pay me to do certain things. I will take requests occasionally, understanding that I don't know most of the songs that y'all are going to request. But I will be singing them anyways. Poorly. I sang a song about... God, I don't know if you've heard the song, but it's like... it's a song about footballs coming home that was written during like the last thing. The last whatever that thing's called. Yeah. It's so goofy. Because somebody requested the song and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. It's so old. How many times has it actually worked out? And that was, oh my God, that was years ago now. God, I need another song that I want to sing. Well, 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 what have we here? Santa Claus, huh? Ooh, I'm really scared. So you're the one everybody's talking about. You're joking, I can't believe my eyes. You're joking, you gotta be. This can't be the right guy. He's ugly, he's ancient, I don't know which is worse. I might just put a seam now if I don't die laughing first. Mr. Oogie Boogie said there's trouble close at hand. You better pay attention now, cause I'm the boogeyman. Oh my God, it's bunnies. Do stadium chants? I can do all the ones involving Germany. Or the one, remember the one being like between Germany and Scotland or something? And the Germans were like, we hate England. And then the Scotlands responded, we do too. This one's also free chat. Actually, no. You know what I want to listen to? I want to listen to this. Where is it? This was made during COVID. I'm so confused. New fans get no respect. Well, ska. You have to get hyped up to ska. This is the song that plays in a kid's head when they get extra mozzarella sticks. Soup! Thank you, Gibbets! I'll drink it, thanks. That's a nice channel like that. I want mozzarella sticks. Okay. Chat, maybe we'll make underground this time. What do you think? How have y'all been feeling about today's stream, by the way? Have y'all been enjoying the stream? Tenacious D. Wonder boy, what is the secret of your power? Wonder boy, won't you take me far away from the mucky muck now? Have y'all heard that one? You know what's funny? Because I have 7 TV, the emote for soup comes into place every time you do it. So it's like, hey Gene, what have I told you? And it's just a cat drinking soup. So cereal is a. It's like, oh god damn it! Can somebody please shut up this cat? Can somebody please silence the cat? So that. Oh my god. Is that hello dog eating watermelon? Wonder Boy, we're gonna play Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy, what is the secret of your power? Wonder Boy, won't you take me far away from the mucky muck now? Run with me. Hey, house. I'm eating fruit. That's what they used to call me in high school. Eating fruit. There sits Wonder Boy sitting all soundly. Not much to say when you're high above the mucky muck. Yeah, yeah. Wonder Boy. Oh, what is the secret of your power? Won't you take me far away from the mucky muck now? I'm taking your bed. I don't even want it. You just don't get a bed to sleep on. Loser. Freeing a sheep. Putting a hole in the back of your walls. Yeah, it's going to be awkward. Fight for the beds. The power. I'm back.
with mind bullets. That's telekinesis, huh, Kyle?
Power to move you.
History of young boy and young nasty man. Shika-doo, you rigga-go-go-go.
Thank you, Crucified. I appreciate the acknowledgement of my dastardly evil. You know what I'm gonna do? Taking this guy's job. No, you have to work. Actually. One, Gene, do you know the damned? I have heard of Satan. Yes, me and Satan have had much dealings in the past. Hello, Satan. Hello, kitty. Oh. Ha! How'd you get in here? You live with here. Me and JT with that tenacious D. He fly. What's up, Allie, by the way? Hi, how you doing? Oh shit. I think I hit him on accident. Shut up. Honeydew. What up? What up, it's your boy, Kyle. I'm 16 and I never learned how to read. I changed my mind. I don't want to do that. We're going down. I don't have any wood, do I? I have 2 logs. I have 2 logs, chat. Get pranked. Prank 'em, John. Fill it with your mighty deuce. 2 logs in a dream. You know, this is crazy.
I was crazy once. They put me in a room, a rubber room with rats. The rats, they made me crazy. I was crazy once. They put me in a room, a rubber room with rats. The rats made me crazy. I was crazy once. They put me in a room, a rubber room with rats. With the rats made me crazy. I was crazy once. They put me in a room, a rubber room with rats. The rats made me crazy.
Crazy? I was crazy once. They made me a room. A rubber room with rats. The rats made me crazy.
Anyways, where were we? One more time. More?
More.
Yas, Queen, slay. Slay
your enemies.
That one's fun. I'm lost. So, chat, I was walking around downtown and I was trying to find out where I was when I found myself in this cave, and I'm not exactly sure what to do at this point. Do I keep just digging around this cave until I find something? Because honestly, I'm not sure what I should be doing anymore. And if anybody in chat has any idea what I should... Hey, is this coal? No, there's no coal. You'd think there'd be some coal down here, but there's not been any coal yet. Should I go back up? Oh, I don't know if I should go back up anymore. Do I just stay here now? Is this just my life now? Do I live in a hole? I'm not sure if I'm a really big fan. I'm gonna go make some chicken nuggets. I would like. Can I have some chicken nuggets, please? Please, I'll have a few chicken nuggets. If you don't, no, you don't. That's okay. I can. No, see, I don't need torches. I have lights. You see, there's a light, and that makes everything better. It's fine. Are you okay? No, I'm not okay. I'm just a guy. Oh, I thought I lost the torch, but the torch is still there, so it's okay. It's fine. I don't need much more than a torch. Hey, what if I grab this? Will this be fine? I'm looking. Should I make? Oh,
It's not breaking, chat. I don't know what to do at this point anymore. Do I have a blast furnace? Do I have a table?
Sorry. I didn't know what that voice was, and it was fun, and it was a fun voice. I don't know what it was. It felt weird, and I like it. No more?
Yeah, well, I mean, sure. I can do this a little more. What if I just talk like this for the rest of the stream? It's okay. It's just
Don't me. Don't me. Wow.
it's the awkward playthrough, guys. I mean, so I'm just gonna make a little pickaxe here, and we're gonna dig like. So what's your power level? I bet it's not as high as mine.
Do you all know what that's a reference to?
So, what's your power level? Oh, hi, Princess Trunks.
I wonder who destroyed that planet.
It must have been someone with a very high power level. Huh. I wonder who it could be. What's your power level?
Okay, I'm sorry. We have to listen to this. I have to show you what I'm talking about because I'm gonna go insane that nobody knows what I'm. Okay, give me a second. I know I'm probably not doing the voice justice, but give me a second. Why was the last thing I have Googled snake farts? Okay, you ready? This is important. We're watching this together. Here we go. Oh, no, not that one. We go through Gene's stream history. So don't worry, that's fine.
Oh. What's your power level? What's your power level like? I can't hear you from all the way down there.
I love him. It's and then he transforms. How long is this? This is 6 minutes long. You're just gonna hear his voice change though. Prove it. Okay. Anyways, that's done. We're done with that. And that is the voice that I hear in my head sometimes, honestly.
I don't know what I'm doing here. I just don't know what I'm gonna be doing here, honestly. I'm just gonna walk around here and use some people up, and maybe go set a school on fire or something. I don't know. Just gonna do some things every once in a while. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
All right, we're good. Thank you for letting me slip your brains, chat.
Oh, what's your power level? What's your power level like? What?
Oh, the guy who the entire time was just like,
They just took my, they took my stapler, but you know, I need my stapler.
What's my?
Oh, what's your power level?
You and I in a bag of balloons with my wing guy. I don't know what I'm doing down here. I got lost and now I'm going back and forth. Okay. Oh boy, chat. We need to recalibrate here. So come here. We're gonna talk a little bit. We're just gonna have a little conversation, okay? Hi. How are you? Hi. My name is Lucky Jean, and I'm an alcoholic. Say hi, Jean.
Oh, so what's your power level like? What's your power level like there, Vanya?
And if I do this, he doesn't move. I actually figured out how to calibrate glasses properly, and so these ones are broken. I don't think I have a proper glasses toggle, but you know, I could. And I have some items here. You want to see what items I have? Okay, let's see what items I have. We have goofy shirt. Goofy shirt, goofy shirt. It's a goofy shirt. Boop doop boop 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 boop. Goofy shirt, goofy shirt. Oh, don't shake me. Ah! Remove the shirt. Magic glasses, they don't move properly. Magic glasses, they smell like my knees. Anyways, oh, we have the beer hand. Would you like to see my beer hand? This is my beer hand. It's small right now. Let me make it grow. And so I can do this. Oh, and I can do this, and I go. And it moves like that. What do my knees smell like? Gosh, I don't want to know. I don't want to know what my knees smell like. And we have a head pat that I haven't rigged, or I haven't connected yet. It does this. And I could easily fix right now, and I could make it work in like 3 seconds. I could make this work so easily. Not happening. Anyways, do the roar. Where's the glasses? 99 red balloons going by. I got horns recently. Want to see my horns? Horns. It's one horn right now, but you know. Apparently it's rigged so I can attach it to something. I don't know what I'm going to attach it to, but horn. I bought a lot of things. Things that I'm never going to use. I think these were the glasses. Were these the ones? Okay. Oh no, these were the ones that we just were looking at. But I could put them here. And I needed... nah. Only pinned to layers below. I have to open the setting. It's too hard. I don't want to mess with it right now. We're going to do it another time. The glasses are going away. What thing? What do you want me to do? Hello, Elrica! I'm down here now. Help! I fell! I was hoping there'd be candy on this side of my microphone, but it's not there. I don't know where the candy went. Okay, it's fine. We're gonna try the other side. Where's the candy? Oh, there it is. Ah. Oh. I'm doing better on candy. Fine, here's a gummy worm for you, chat. Wait. I'm putting a gummy worm on my mic, and I'm going to eat my gummy worm off the mic. It's the new ASMR trend, Chad. It's eating food off of your microphone. You ready? It's just. People probably would pay me for that. Eating stuff off the microphone, but I only eat like disgustingly. Just. Delicious. Honestly, top tier. Give my compliments to the chef. Wait a second. Wait a second. I have it. You like Huey Lewis and the News? Their early work was a little too new wave for my taste, but when Sports came out in '83, I think they really came into their own commercially and artistically. The whole album has a clear, crisp sound and a new sheen of consummate professionalism that really gives the song a big boost. He's been compared to Elvis Costello, but I think Huey has far more better cynical sense of humor. Hey, Halberstrom. Why are there copies of the style section all over the place? Do you have a dog like a little chow? Yes, it is. Is that a raincoat? Yes, it is. In '87, Huey released this for all. Well, I cemented over the nap nook when that happened. Their most accomplished album. I think that their undisputed masterpiece, It Tipped to Be Square. A song so catchy, most people probably don't listen to the lyrics, but they should, because it's not just about the pleasure of conformity and the importance of trends. It's also an important statement about the band itself. Hey, Paul. Does anybody know what that is? Does anybody have any idea what I just quoted? All of that? Oh my God! It is Patrick Bateman's thing when he's about to murder the guy in his apartment. You haven't? Okay, we're watching this. This is an iconic scene. We have to watch this right now. Give me a second. Okay. I'm gonna keep playing Minecraft in the background. But this is so cool. Oh wait, you can't see it, can you? I wanna see if I can do it like this. There we go. It's such an iconic scene. I mean, just look at all this. I do like Ice Nine Kills. It's insane. I love the scene so much. It's one of my all-time favorite scenes I've seen in like anything, because this whole time he's like having this whole conversation being like, oh, by the way, thank you for the check-in. He's just like, you know, here's this deep analysis of this thing, and yeah, you know, I think they really should like this more. And like the voice he does the entire time, this entire thing. Have anyone seen American Psycho? Like, it is intentionally making fun of Which there's so many bros who like American Psycho, like, oh my God, this is so cool. No, no, no. American Psycho is making fun of corporate capitalism. Like, half of it is just them being like this is the most inane, insane thing that's ever happened to somebody. Like, why are they having this deep diving discussion about it? Or one of the things that happens in the early parts is they all come out with with their business cards, and they're all sitting around a table, and he goes, "Hey, check out my business card." He's like, "Yeah, it's I just got them in," and he talks about like the business card. And by the way, all of them are like Vice executives. Which the role was specifically chosen because it means nothing. And they're all like talking about this card being like yeah, it's like, yeah, look how amazing this card is. Oh, well, you want to see my card? And it's the same card, but they describe it like it's something different with like the coloring. It's like, oh, it's this one's pearl and this off-white sheen and all this other thing. And oh, look at the slightly embossed lettering and he's like sweating the fact that like that they're all having the same like business card, but like this other guy's business card is technically better for this whatever reason. It's insane. It is so cool of like a nonsense nothing scene. I love things like that. One of my favorite movies is called The Exam. And the reason why I like The Exam is because all of it takes place in a single room. Okay. It's a thriller, and all we're really given at the very beginning of the movie is we have a bunch of people getting ready for an interview. They don't know what the interview's for. And what we're told is that there's this company out there who had some massive thing, like invention or something that happened. And that like working with them is basically our equivalent of working for like Google, except 100 times better. And so all these people are like preparing for this interview that they don't know anything about. And when they go in, they're sat down. They're given a single piece of paper, and they're given a set of rules. It's something along the lines of like, don't make a single mark on this paper. Do not spoil your paper. Do not talk, or like, do not do something. I can't remember. It's like, do not leave this room. Do not do something else, and then do not something else. And then at the end, he goes, "Okay, does anyone have any questions?" Nobody says anything. All right. I'll return it, blah, 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 blah. It's called The Exam. And the movie is them there being like, what am I going to do? Like, what are we supposed to do? And I'll only spoil away the first thing that happens is somebody writes on their paper. Like they just start filling out the paper. And immediately they get dragged off kicking and screaming. Being like, this isn't fair. This isn't a proper interview. Blah, 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 blah. And so you immediately know that you're not supposed to sign it. And yeah, that's like it's such a cool thing, and like the entire movie's having like big dramatic sequences and all this stuff. It has a twist ending and all that. I mean, every movie has a twist ending, so every thriller has a twist ending. So yeah, cool movie. I like it a lot. I watch weird movies, just like I listen to weird music. Do not spoil your room, do not leave the room, and do not talk to the invigilator, which is the person, or I don't remember exactly who the invigilator is, or the armed guard. Violating any of these rules results in immediate disqualification from exam. I think the invigilator is like something specific, some specific person. But yeah. And it's very cool. It's very cool. So yeah, if you all want to check it out, feel free to do so. Invig you later. Oh, you're pronouncing it for me. Thank you. Well, I refuse to pronounce. I thought you were like, hey Gene, I'll invig you later. Okay, cool. I'll see you then. Oh, okay. Like, there are some like really harrowing scenes in it. and never play Pac-Man while people are taking exams? Why? Why? Oh, hey! They are playing Pac-Man. Are they? Oh, no. Sorry. You want to see the game? Crazy. Why would you want to see the game? I thought you were here for me, chat. Y'all, are you here just to watch Minecraft? Should I just turn off my... I'll just turn off my model. It's fine. I don't need to be... I don't need to be... You're not supposed to say yes! You're not supposed to say yes, my emotions! I knew it. I knew it. Well, from now on, I'm banning everybody. Then it's just gonna be me by myself. I'm banning everyone. Chat, get ready.
Do not tempt fate, young one.
Did we get a pumpkin, by the way? We did not get a pumpkin. I could have sworn I had a pumpkin. I'd miss you. I would miss you. But I've done stupider things for worse reasons. No, I don't. Where's my pumpkin? Oh my god! Oh. Scared me. Legitimately, I was like, wow. Where'd that come from? Hi, little guy. Can I make you into a farming bot? Maybe. I'm gonna test this out. I want to see if he does what I think he's gonna do. Okay, so he looks in there, he sees there's copper. He's taking the copper and he's putting in the... What are you doing? Wait, so if I put you in here... Okay. I think he's... Okay, so I think what they do is they move stuff from once... Okay. So do you know what we can do? Here's what we do. We have this set up in one place. We then have a farm going into the box. And then we can have him move the box to another place. So he can just transport goods for me. Yes. Hmm. Oh, what we can do. I can make a mine that has water in the middle and it goes down to his box, and then he'll take everything and put it into a bigger chest. We just move that box whenever we need to go move to a new mine. We'll have to learn more about the copper golems. We'll have to learn more about copper golems. I wonder if he'll... Wait. So here's the thought. Okay? So I'm going to take out... I'm going to leave one copper in here, okay? I'm going to take this box, I'm going to put it here. There's no copper in here. Actually, no, we'll put the copper in here. No copper in here. Okay. So it puts the copper where the copper is in the other box. And so I can actually have him sort my stuff. And so what I can do is every time I come back, I dump everything in here, and we have pre-labeled chests with things in it. And he'll sort them all. Perfect. And so all I need to do is make 10 boxes. Okay, we have 1 box, 2 box. Perfect. I'm gonna make this a nightmare for him. Not intentionally. Alright, here we go. So starting off, we're just gonna keep this simple. I need to actually pick out the boxes. Okay. So we're gonna have our stone box. We're gonna have food box. We're gonna have, I don't know, maybe raw ingredients or something. Alright. Stone. Stone. And we're also going to put copper in here. Yes. Wait, why do you put it in there? No, honey, I have a box ready for that. Here goes vegetables. No, stop putting it in that box. There we go. There you go. Oh, not you, honey. Okay. Maybe we'll do all redstone stuff in here. Vegetables. Copper. Stone. This. I think we're going to end up with a lot of dirt, so we'll just do dirt here. Wood. Okay. Maybe some more? Oh, shoot. I'm about to break this pick. There we go. Forged iron we'll put in there. I'll just make this a junk box for now. It's gonna take a lot of brain power. I don't want brain power. I don't want brain power. Why does there have to be brain? I don't want to think. I don't want to think. This is gonna be cool though. I'm excited to come back and just give him a bunch of random junk. Just let him figure out what to do with it. You got this, buddy. I believe in you. So no head. Okay. I love him. I love him so much. This little neat freak. What's he gonna do with it? Wait, because he doesn't have anywhere to put it, he's gonna just hold on to it? Poor bud. Alright, what time is it, chat? Okay. Okay, we're gonna play more Minecraft another day. Is there anything anybody wants to do, chat? Anything y'all have been craving, you've been needing in your life? Is there anything that you've just been like, oh my god, I wish Gene had done this? No? There's nothing you want me to do ever because I'm starving now? So you hate me. You hate me, you don't want me to do anything at all. Okay, I get you. I understand. Don't leave. Well, I'm not leaving. I'm giving you all an opportunity to come up with something that you want me to do. You'll have the opportunity for me not to leave. You'll ban me if I... Probably. Good thing not to say whatever you're thinking might get you banned. I guess I need to work on stuff. I don't want to work on stuff. I need to clean up. Maybe I'll just clean. Tomorrow's Sunday. Hi, Kinkies. Enjoy your darkness. Yeah, I guess I'll go clean. Okay, chat. Well, it's been a lovely little time. I hope y'all enjoyed the hype and excitement of everything else. Sorry I've calmed down a little bit near the end here. I think my day is finally catching up with me. But I really have appreciated having all of you here. Genuinely. I mean, it's nice to have y'all. It just makes my brain a little bit more brain. Good, Eeps. You can't make me. You can't make me, lad. Come at me. Come at me right now. See if you can stop me. You're gonna try to stop me. It's not gonna work. I'm gonna beat you. Beat you over the head with a spoon. You'll never see the spoon coming. You'll never see it coming. Yeah, boy. Wait. Yeah, boy. I could have kept going, but I had to laugh. I have big lungs. How long do you think I can do? How long do you think I can probably do? What happened to the 10 out of 10 performance. Thank you. Thank you. I'm not going to do it again. Take cover. I am the one who comes. No. My lungs are dirty. I am the one who comes. You see someone knocking and they shoot someone. I'm such a good doggy. There you go. Ooh. I am the one who knocks, Skylar. I am the one who knocks. It's me. I'm the one who knocks. So somebody knocks on the door and shoots the guy behind the door, and you think that of me? No. Actually, I need to look up the. I need to quote that. Give me a second. I am. Mm-hmm.
No, you clearly don't know who you're talking to, so let me clue you in. I am not in danger, Skylar. I am the danger. A guy opens his door and gets shot, and you think that of me? No, I am the one who knocks.
There you go. All right. You took a fat nap. Pog.
I am the danger. It's me. Hello, everybody. It's me. I am, Mr. Gray. I'm white. That's right. Mm-hmm. You know exactly who I be.
Did you know you're alive? Yes, I am live. Holy shit. Hey, chat. What the fuck are 38 of you doing here? What the fuck are 38 of you doing here? What the fuck are 38 of you doing here? I've been such a fucking idiot all day. Why is there 38 people here? What the fuck? What the I've been insane today. I have to live with that. I have to live with the knowledge that all of you know who I've been. Fuck, I kind of actually, I'm feeling really energized now that I know this. And I feel like zero tiredness, and I'm just actually very excited. But I should go to sleep. But I'm not going to go to sleep. I'm going to go clean. And I don't want to go. Do I never leave? Can I just live here? Can this be me? Can I, have you seen that girl? Okay, no, we're going to talk about this real quick. I'm going to go to Just Chatting for a little while. We're going to talk about girls. Hey, chat, we're going to talk about girls. What do you guys like any girls? Chat, do you like any girls? Are there any girls that you like? Oh my god, you're gay? Do you like any boys? What kind of boys do you like? What's your type of boy? Come on, chat, tell me, what's your kind of boy that you like? I like girls, I like boys, and I like extra-dimensional creatures from other parallel universes who would consume my soul given the opportunity. I call him Chuck. Tall, nerdy, will eat my soul given the opportunity. It's just mine. He's Mexican. I like who I like. He's a chunk. Is this an animal? Because the way you're describing it, it sounds like you're describing like a chihuahua. I like him. It's. Let's get specific. Hey, chat, what kind of body type do you like? Do you have a preference, or you just like a funny guy, or a girl, or a non-binary person? You like the trunk? No, that's fair. That's fair. Human. Preferable. Human, preferable. Not necessary. Not like 100%, but like I would prefer a human given the opportunity. But you know. Not 100%. You made me background music? You made me background. You made. You made. If they're halfway pleasant. Honestly, halfway pleasant even necessarily needed. Can you send it to me, please? I like a person I can Jack Sparrow across the mall with. So all I have to do is like walk like I'm drunk all the time, and you'll dig it. Is that's your vibe? You know what though? This really kind of like gives you a thing though that any body type that's out there is somebody's preferred body type, whether it's you or somebody else. Like every body type out there is somebody's preferred body type. It's just, be out there, find somebody you like. Stop being so worried about what your body type is, because if somebody's body type is your preferred preference, guess what? You're somebody's preferred preference. I got so scared. I heard something open. I'm like, oh my god, is that Herobrine? I'm still I broke my pickaxe.
Chad, I broke my pickaxe. I don't have a pickaxe anymore. I don't know if I have any wood left. Oh, go to bed. Carmia, go to bed. Schlaf gut. Schlaf gut, liebe Carmia. Are you staying here just because I'm here? I don't know if I have any more wood. Oh my god. Okay, chat. For Carmia, I will go to bed. I will end stream exclusively for Carmia. I'm kidding. Went on a date with a guy and didn't hear his voice before, and I could not handle Chat. To be fair, yes, I get you, Ocean. I get that. I have a voice thing. Like, there are people who I've seen people who are so hot, who have been like both like male or female model like body types, and it was like they're so gorgeous, and I was so into them, and then I talked to them like in a voice call, and I was like, oh, do you want to maybe work on that? Immediately lost all attraction for the person, and it no. Yeah, it was heartbreaking, and like they don't care because they're extremely attractive, and for somebody else it's going to be amazing, and like they're going to have an amazing relationship. But to me, that is my one sticking point of like, if I don't like a person's voice, I have difficulty being friends with them. Because it's like, you know, people have food textures. I have voice textures. If I don't like your voice texture, I'm just, yeah. Carmia, your voice is fine. Carmia, your voice is fine. I like your voice. Oh, that's awful. Gotta be Goofy. Goofy's valid. Goofy's valid. You despise my... And chat, here's the thing. A voice... You know, like they do trans vocal training? You can do any kind of vocal training. If you want to sound to have a deeper voice, all you have to do is drop it down a bit, and you just talk like this all the time, and it's significantly easier. You want to have a higher voice, then you talk a little bit higher all the time, and you get used to talking up here. This becomes your comfort, and eventually everything adapts to this. Like, you can just do slight adjustments all the time. And you want to talk more like up in your nose, you can talk up in your nose all the time. Like, this is not difficult to do. You just have to have some intent behind it, and you can do whatever voice you want. Oh my god. I dropped down. And when I looked down... So what's your power level? What's... I don't know what his power level is.
I dropped down, and the copper golem opened the chest, and I looked down, and it's just a black void. See, that's what I saw, and I fell, and I panicked. It was horrifying.
What's your power level like? I mean, yeah, I think Carmia should maybe go to bed because Carmia's on the other side of the planet, and it's like bedtime for her or something. You know, it's just like, maybe you should go to sleep and not blame Jane for staying up so late because Jane's just having a kind of good time right now, and he's
No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I do need to go to bed. I don't need to go to bed, but I do want to actually clean for once, because I finally have every single negative situation, most every negative situation in my head wrapped up. So I finally feel like comfortable enough to actually like clean up my apartment a little bit. Maybe, you know, get comfy in it, which is going to be really nice. I'm not going to bed. Chat. I have stuff I want to do.
I'm gonna keep playing Minecraft. Like if I was just to be here a little bit more, guys, do you think maybe I could like become a big Minecraft streamer or something? Like, what if I start like a Minecraft SMP and like this whole world? And oh my god, I found a water chat. That means we can finally make can start planning things and that we can be here together and we can start mining.
This voice is... What do you say? No, what's he say?
This makes me very angry indeed. Isn't that lovely?
Oh no, the chest. The chest is turning colors, chat.
That was the voice I did during that Resident Evil playthrough, where I got attacked like, ah! I was like, oh god, what was that noise I just made? Have you all seen that one? The Gene Mentality video? Honestly, one of my favorite ones. I feel like I put so much effort in and it got zero love. It got zero love. Meanwhile, my one that I knocked out was just like, my chat like to apologize when they come into my stream. And they should. How dare they be late? Let their grandma die. That one is at 25,000 views, by the way. It might be at 30 by now. But the other one, the one that I did that I spent so much time on, it's like 300. 300. I thought it was hilarious. And the amount of people who saw that one and were just like, oh my, your voice. I wasn't expecting that coming from you.
My Iridium Q36 explosive space modulator. Oh, what can
It's very similar voice. It's a very similar voice. I wish I could do Porky. Porky would be the best. Or Bugs. Or Daffy. I wish I could do anyone else except Marvin the Martian. Legitimately.
It's at 30 point.
I'm sorry. Did you just tell me that that is at 30.4 thousand? What the fuck do you mean it's at...
God. Why did I... Oh. Chat, are you gonna? You better not start barking. You better not start barking whenever I bark. If I every time I look at chat and I have to do this stupid bark and then I see everybody barking, yeah, I will go insane. I will go insane. No. That is. It feels good to do that. It like hits a place in my throat I don't use a lot. Is it throat? It's like back top of the mouth. It's like at the palate, actually. So lost. I don't know what I'm doing. I always sound like a dying cat. Holy shit. Okay. Swear again. Okay. I'm fine. No, honeydew, don't you dare. No, filth, bad. Aaron, better, but also not better. I'm so lost. I'm going in the hole. A berg. Okay. Bah. Can I? Bah. What do sheeps actually sound like? Alexa, make a sheep noise.
Okay, here's Zookeeper. I didn't hear the name of an animal. Please try again.
Alexa, volume 10. Alexa, make a sheep noise.
Okay, here's Zookeeper. I didn't hear the name of an animal. Please try again.
Alexa, what does a sheep sound like?
Okay, here's Zookeeper. I didn't hear the name
What
of
do you
an
mean
animal.
you didn't hear the noise?
Try again.
Oh my god. Okay, well. Alright, I think it's time. It's time, chat. Okay, so, hey, chat, just, can you close it? Everybody, I need you all to do something with me real quick. I need you to do something really quick. Can you do me a favor? Everybody, close your eyes. All right, close your eyes together. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep them closed. Good job, chat. I'm so proud of you. Keep the eyes closed. Keep the eyes closed. It's fine. Okay. Sorry, I had to make sure that y'all didn't get out during the night. You'll be fine. It's fine. You'll be fine. You're good. It's Okay. Here. Why is the cage so... Who moved the cage? Who moved this... Hey. No. Back. There we go. You stay there, okay? You'll stay here until the morning stream, and I'll bring you back out, okay? We're gonna be a little bit more Edgar Allan Poe. And then we're gonna be swapping to a new genre. Don't chew on the bars, they're gonna hurt your teeth. No, stop setting yourself on fire. Fine. I'll send you to somebody else's stream, okay? We're gonna send you to somebody else's stream. That way they can deal with y'all and your shenanigans, okay? Your shenanigans, your shenanny-nanny-nanny-nans, okay? Because that's what you need. Somebody else needs to be able to handle your shenanigans. Shenanigans.
I'm not locked in here with you. You're a shoe.
All right, we have choices. We have food and drink with Tippi Hendrix. Tippi Hendrix is pretty sick. I love Tippi Hendrix. They're so cool. Should we just go check out Tippi? Yeah, we're gonna go see Tippi. We're going to Tippi. Shananana doo-doo. They're doing something with Vaseline, chat. I do a. Lucky raid, copy the raid message. They're very cool. All right, everybody. Y'all are so great. You're the best. I love y'all so very, very, very much. Enjoy the cage. You're going to be here all night. Bye-bye. Mwah, 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 mwah.